Hi, welcome to Designer Discussions. Today, we're going to talk about short format video for TikTok and Reels and how it can help your interior design business.
Welcome to the Designer Discussions podcast. Tune in each week where we discuss marketing, branding, PR, and business advice for design professionals.
Today, our guest is Pamela Durkin. She is an interior designer and a business coach for interior designers. And we're super excited to have her today to help us through wading through these waters of short format videos for interior designers. So I found for me, I actually really enjoyed joining TikTok because TikTok helped me to get out from behind the camera and get in front of it. Because when I learned about TikTok is that you will not get past those 300 views if you're just filming areas and talking about it. If I'm filming a kitchen and I'm talking about it, it just isn't going to come across on the camera. You don't create an audience. And the way that TikTok values your content is by how long was the video watched? If it's watched one full time, is it watched two full times? Did you go to the comment section? Did you leave a comment? And the only way that you can start to build traction or gain an audience over on TikTok is by starting a conversation in which people are asking you questions or you're answering their questions. And what's interesting about TikTok is there is some natural growth over there. And if you are answering the questions of the people who are truly interested in what it is that you do, you start building your content very quickly and very easily just by answering the questions with additional videos. And just like when we started this podcast, we began in a clubhouse room, asking interior designers, talking to interior designers, and getting quick, immediate feedback. And quick, immediate feedback leads to more successful participation in whatever it is. And I think what's been going on over on Instagram is that we've been posting these beautiful curated images and videos to our feeds and not having people interact with us and talk to us about what's going on. So when we talk about what short format video should be, I believe Pam and I both are on the same page that we are looking at this forward thinking. We're not looking at what it has been in the past, but what we hope to see more of in the future. And so when we talk about what it is that we are seeing or hearing, yes, it's going to be dated. This is not going to be the most easy to age podcast because social media is a urgency-based concept. But what we want to do is just talk about how can interior designers start showing up on these short format videos? How can you start to convey what it is that you do, how you do it, and grow your following through being more authentic, more original, and doing some cool and fun things?
I agree. And I think the one thing that we did talk about was there's a difference between reporting and storytelling. And so reporting is just saying, we use this material here, we use this cabinet here, we use this color here. The storytelling is why. So I always ask designers to say, write your post like you normally would, but then go back and say, why? Why is this important? Why does my customer need to know about this? Why is this information something that they should be aware of? And storytelling never goes out of style. It's never going to go away in terms of a marketing technique. So if you can continue to think about writing stories, or what I tell people is carry a notebook around with you. And as you have interactions with clients, or use your notes app or whatever works for you, but recount those stories and write them down. And then that's your next post. So if you want to post that beautiful picture, write the story about how that came to be. And we tend to get, to your point about short format, we tend to get super wordy. Instead of telling them about 9 things, just tell them about one thing. And that also allows them to digest the information and retain the information. When we give them 9 things, we're trying to show how smart we are, as opposed to giving them one thing that they can actually take in and learn from.
My philosophy right now about doing short format video is not about being perfect or like executing on exactly what I need to do. That is definitely not my goal. I am running around throwing spaghetti and just checking to see what sticks. And I'm finding that just by showing up and testing, does this work for my audience? Does this work for my audience? I can measure my results on what works and what doesn't work through trying out new and different things. And I ultimately, I want to let you know that if you are doing something and you're enjoying it and you're having fun, you're going to get a lot more views and you're going to have a lot more impact on your audience than if you're just posting something because someone told you you needed to have a certain amount of posts each day.
And that's the beauty of the short format and even social media, is that you're getting a lot of real-time feedback. And I would also challenge people that you need to curate your audience instead of just having an audience. So you also need to decide who your perfect client is or who you want to do business with, and either be engaged. So you want those people to come to you, and you also want to be out there interacting with those types of people. So while a lot of people that I run into feel like it's just you put things out and then the audience responds, I also want you to be curating that audience, because if you're putting an ad in a magazine, you're just throwing something out there and hoping that it hits the right person at the right time while they're looking at that. And the same with social media. So I think that we also need to be much more proactive and curate our own audience and decide where we want all of this to go.
I saw a celebrity post on her social media that what she was doing when she was designing her new home was creating a space that reminded her of her parents' home. Her last house had looked like what the aesthetic was that she was, aiming for, that was like everybody else's aesthetic. She had the big Kelly Wersler interior designer do the space and all that. And she said, you know what? I grew up in a house where there were patterns on the walls and wallpapers and textures and soft things and quirky things and things that would like spark my imagination when I saw them. And I started to realize that I don't want to design my house to look like a certain aesthetic and to not have this high-end interior designer, but I want to create a home for my kids so that they can have a similar experience and childhood like I had, where I didn't have to worry about them touching the white sofa, where I didn't have to worry about them, leaving things out and then the house looking cluttered because there were a couple of toys out or a couple of books out. And what I want to express on this concept and this topic is this is what Pamela's talking about when she says storytell. Right? She's not saying, I picked this because it looks like it's pretty with this and it looks like it's pretty with this. It's the idea of saying, I grew up with a parent who hoarded things, and I know how that reflects in my design aesthetic when I design other people's homes. I know that, these beautiful white interiors look great on camera, but if it's not livable, then what is the point of going there? And these are actually the stories people want to hear. And they want to hear it from someone who says, hi, I am an interior designer. I design celebrities' homes and professional athletes' homes. And you know what? I have never had to have them come in and say, I would like something trendy. We never design anything trendy. We design the home for the family. And this is what we do. And that is the story that people are begging for and that people are looking for. And had I not accidentally fallen off the TikTok wagon, I wouldn't have even known it, because Instagram will keep you isolated enough in a vortex of aesthetics and concepts and, all of the media type publication things in that realm. And you're not going to understand, what are people actually at home and thinking about? Like, are they looking at their grandma's antiques and thinking, well, I should get rid of those because they don't go with my aesthetic? Or do they want to hear from a professional say, you know what, you should have a couple of antiques. In fact, the antiques are great investments. New furniture is very expensive. If you can get your hands on some antiques for less, that's a much better investment than buying IKEA.
Yeah. And I think to your point too, is that, a lot of this stuff too comes back to comfort. So for me, when you told the story about somebody that wanted to have their home similar to what they grew up in, to me, that's a comfort zone, and not in a bad way, but in a good way. Like that was something that they felt grounded them. So again, a better part of the story to tell. And same with, the antiques or the pieces. I like to tell people, if there's a piece that's important to you, we are keeping it. We're not just throwing it away like it has no meaning, because every time you look at that, I have a sofa, a Thayer Coggin sofa from an aunt, a favorite aunt of mine from 1960. That poor baby is still original fabric right now because I haven't recovered it. I will not give that thing up because it reminds me of her. She was one of my most favorite people in the whole world. And of course, it's Thayer Coggin. I mean, come on. But that's a piece that I'll keep forever. And I think these are the stories that as designers, we should be talking about. There's, I always say when we design a space, we don't just, come up with it in 5 minutes. We agonize over every detail, and we look and we search and we try to find the perfect thing. So let's shine some light on some of that part of the process and why we care so much, because we love our clients and we want them to have beautiful things that have meaning to them. So why not talk about that quickly, though, in short format video, which is what we're talking about today, right? So we got to talk about how you put together short format video and why it's so, it's such a great technique. Even if you're on Instagram or on TikTok, the thing that I found with short format video, and I'm talking about reels right now, is that, so the sweet spot there is about 8 seconds, 8 to 10. And Maria's saying yes, same for TikTok around the same time. So we have to learn to be a little less wordy. And so when you put yourself under, good pressure, right? I call it good peer pressure, to get something down to 8 seconds, you really distill the message that you want to convey, right? And you can do that in various ways, but then you also can't tell too many messages. The messages have to come down dramatically, which is also I think, a really smart way to test things that are important to you as a designer. And then, that feedback that you get is what's important to your audience.
So when I was talking with Pam, preparing for this audio, I had mentioned to her that we should start looking at what we put out on social media more like the stories we tell our friends. These need to be the stories that when we're sitting with like our two close buddies over dinner and we're having a conversation, Pam's giving me the no. She's saying no.
There's so many things that are...
No, everything she's telling me no, everything's wrong. And that's fine.
Because I swear a lot. So yeah, I would say no. So,
but we
carry on. Tell the story. Keep going.
But it's the whole idea of it's the conversations you would actually have more with your friend than you would with if you were put on the spot and being asked something in front of a big audience. So you want to always kind of keep in mind that it's the conversation that you can have with a small group of people, and keeping it in that context will actually help you to appeal to a larger group of people. It's pretty interesting how the more you distill it down and make it personal, the larger the reach will be of what it is that you're talking about. And one of the things that we talked a little bit about, and Pam's going to tell me no on this one too, is that on TikTok, because TikTok's the Wild West, right? And the more views you get, the more negative comments and all this kind of stuff that's going to happen to you. And you just ignore it because people will come in and defend you. And then as your comment section fills up, your content goes viral. But what I found was I took my content that I would have if I was having dinner with a group of friends and I was talking about interior design in a fun, quirky way, and I put it on TikTok. And when I did that, I got some attention, and I had one video hit 500,000 and one hit 350, and it's still going. And I am literally not doing anything new. I'm not doing anything different. I made a joke about if someone's got a one night stand, they're not looking for a relationship. And everybody knows that that's feng shui, right? But I didn't package it that way. I just made it quirky and fun and talked about something now that people are like, well, what's feng shui? And should I know about it? Right. And I'm like, I'm not even a feng shui expert. I'm just making a comment about things that as an interior designer, I notice. If I have a single guy and he's got plenty of space for two nightstands and he refuses to pay for the second nightstand, it's a hint, ladies. It's a hint. This is not.
By the way, that guy also parks in the middle of his garage. So we talked about that too. So
he does.
He's not ready for that second car to come in there.
And these are the conversations.
Psychology. There's so much psychology that we as designers pick up on and then implement in designs. Like, you know how clients will say something and you're looking at them going, they're not buying into this, or that doesn't feel right. Like, I think they're saying something maybe that they think they're supposed to say. I mean, we pick up on so many cues. So why not talk about some of those things? Because there's a potential client out there going, do I want to hire a designer? Who's that person for me? How do I start this process? You know, they're asking all these questions. Why not answer those questions in your content for them? So that when that person comes along, that's like really connected to whatever you're saying and whatever you're doing, you're like, wow, this is awesome. I mean, that relationship, when you have a design client that is just really on the same wavelength you are and very open to trying things and just are willing to talk about what they really want or understand that it's a discovery, you are producing your best work. And this is why I always tell people, this is why you should always be going towards that perfect future client, because when it's right, it is so right. And you are doing amazing work. You're producing amazing results. You are giving the best customer service to that client. Isn't that all like what we want? Isn't that the high that we're all chasing, right? So that's why I always say you've got to be thinking about who that perfect future client is and start crafting what that looks like, and then start talking to those questions as best as you can with the information you have right now. And as you go through the process, like you said, Maria, you'll discover other things that resonate with people that maybe you hadn't even thought of before. But you know, you're using entertainment and humor and your smartiness, because I can tell you're super smart and that you think about things quite a lot just by what you post. And you know, I'm doing the same thing. Is, you know, I think it's just a part of me, and I think it's a great way to learn. Whatever works for you is what works for you, and your business should reflect your personality and all those special gifts that you have. So I think that's kind of where we're getting to the heart of the matter, is that you got to let your hair down and be you. You just got to relax, take a breath, and be yourself, because that's what's going to attract those great customers to you.
And honestly, I want everybody to know they have the biggest hall pass on short format video. It's still so new, and we see so few people using it that are professionals, that when you do show up and you flub up, you say the wrong thing, you do something that's a little bit, messed up. People don't see that and go, oh my gosh, she messed up. They see it and they go, wow, she showed up and I relate to her. She's like me. If she shows up on video and she messes up, if she stutters, if there's a dozen ums in her video, that's just like how I show up. But when she shows up, people are supportive of her. Maybe they'd be supportive of me too. And so just showing up is just setting an example to help get other people to understand that they too can show up as well. I mean,
I did a video the other day it was a trend, but I related it back to my audience, or I was going to relate it back to my audience, which was going to talk about when you find your perfect future customer, or you figure it out, or you start working with that person, it's amazing. And so there's this Celine Dion thing where you kind of look like a schlub and all of a sudden the lights change and you're in this beautiful outfit and everything's perfect, right? Everything's amazing, which is what the original post was going to be. Well, I went to video it. First of all, like, there's supposed to be a flowing part of this where your hair's flowing or your dress is flowing. Well, I don't have any of that. So my husband has the old leaf blower out. Nothing's moving. He's blowing it in my face. I can't see anything. I can't hear the words. Nothing's like working. Everything's just going awry, as I say. I decided to post that video, which said, when you think you got it all figured out, it's all planned perfect. and then the whole thing goes out the window. But that new, what I posted about was, that's what happens in business. You plan and you think and you try to do all the things and you mitigate all the circumstances, and then you do it and you're like, well, that didn't turn out how I thought it was supposed to go. But it teaches you something every time you learn something. So to your point, just put it out there and see what happens, right?
Yeah,
something's going to happen. Good stuff, bad stuff, learning experiences, it's all going to happen no matter what.
And I am the queen of typing on my tiny keyboard on my phone and doing things like hitting enter and posting stuff before I've had a chance to proofread it. There's always a typo, and God bless y'all all for having to look at my stuff. But the reality is those typos sometimes get me better engagement because I have the grammar police show up and explain to me how I misspelt something that I shouldn't have misspelt. And honestly, it just boosts my reach more. And I'm like, maybe
that's a marketing technique, by the way.
Well, hey, I'm using it.
You're using it. You didn't even know it. So like having typos and also changing fonts, it's a pattern interrupt, and it gets people to go, and so instead of just reading it and droning through it and blah, 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 it makes them stop because something's weird, something's off, something's different. And so it makes them pay attention. So actually, you're marketing. Woo, you're doing it. Look at you. So yes, I always laugh when people are like, you have a typo. And I'm like, but it's done. I did it.
Done.
You haven't done it yet. And you have been thinking about doing it. Mine's done. Yes, it has a typo, but done is better than perfect. So carry on.
So one of the things I want to talk about is that TikTok is different than Instagram because TikTok is set up where it is these casual formats of people. They're putting their makeup on, their hair's in a bun, and they're just talking to the camera as if it's their friend on the phone. Like, hey, I woke up this morning and I put on my yoga pants and my underwear was still in it. Like my underwear got washed in my yoga pants and I had this like bulge out of my leg. And I went to yoga class today like that. Right. And that's like a normal TikTok thing that you'll see. So when you start realizing people are posting like that stuff on TikTok and people are like, oh my God, I've done that too. You start to realize just what level of casual TikTok is. And then whenever you look at what's going on at Reels, you start to see that, Instagram is wanting you to pay to boost your posts. They're really working. You're going to have to work extra hard to get seen because they're not going to repurpose your content. After it gets a certain number of views, if you look at your feed, after your video has gotten a certain number of views, it is dead. And Instagram does not care. It will never repost that. TikTok, on the other hand, is like, oh, this one could be popular today. And they'll dig up something from 6 months ago and throw it back out into the ether and see if it's going to get any kind of traction. So the thing about that is they keep you on the platform. TikTok will keep you on the platform, and you don't have like an Instagram feed that you follow. And you're going to want to use the concept of making multiple videos about one topic and keeping it short and concise, but just having something that if someone knows that they're watching you, that they go back to your feed to read or to watch video 2, video 3, and video 4 on the idea. Because TikTok is going to send out each video to 300 people. If you post 5 videos all at one time, you will go out to 1,500 different people. Once you have been sent out to 1,500 different people, if one person sees a part 1 of a part 4 or part 5 video, they're going to be like, oh, I really like her stuff. And then they go back to your feed. That's the indicator to TikTok that you're important. And that's the indicator of why your videos are viable for other people and that they should kind of support you as a creator on their platform. And why I'm bringing this up is because whatever's happening over on TikTok will eventually start happening on Instagram. You will start to see, since this is the first short format video platform and it's doing well and it's beating Instagram in its content, Instagram's going to need to lean into what TikTok's doing to get the same level of growth and interest in their platform. So I like to use what's happening over on TikTok as an indicator for what could be happening over on Instagram in the future. And one of the other features I really like is that they have duetting and stitching. If you duet or stitch, that means you do a side-by-side video with another person who already has a big following. You can basically ride their coattails. So I found a video of someone who cracked their quartz countertops because of their air fryer. And then I just posted that quartz countertops cannot have something on it that's over 150 degrees. And I just so that my audience would see that video. But then her audience also saw my video explaining why her countertops cracked. And then what happened was all of a sudden a video that where I was getting 300 views on all my videos immediately went to 11,000 people. And I was like, oh, wait, this is how it works. If you interact with video to other videos, that is how you broaden your reach. So if you think you're just going to go plaster over a couple of like photographs that are on like a carousel over on TikTok and that's going to grow your feed because people are going to see your portfolio, that's not going to work. It's an interaction format. It's all about interacting. And Pam, you did something similar. I think they call it a remix, right? Whenever you pair up with someone else's video. Can you tell us about that?
So I just did a remix. It was really just an experiment. So here's the funny thing that we kind of talk about. I was just doing something. I was just trying it because I figured no one's going to watch it, right? And so this remix is a side-by-side video. There's somebody on Instagram called Cruz Creations who's got like, I didn't even know. She has huge following. I found that out afterwards. And she was just doing this thing in the car dancing. And so I was like, I'm going to remix that. And I'm going to relate it back to my audience, which was, how 2021 was kind of rough for a lot of people, but we're ready. We're ready to go into 2022 and kind of kill it. Right. And so remix that video. I mean, didn't have any idea what I was doing. I was just having fun. Right. So I'm at 250,000 views on that. I think my following has gone up by like 40%. I don't have a big following on Instagram, so, that's all relative. But here's the funny thing. So once that remix came out, got a ton of followers, got some negative comments, which I think we should talk about that at some point on how to handle that, because just letting it go it's not in our nature. So we should give some tools for that. But the thing that I found interesting is once that reel sort of went, what we're going to say is viral, I was afraid to post anything else because I was like, oh man, this is really cool. I've got like a bunch of new followers. First of all, they're not my ideal audience. Or here's the other side that maybe they are. Like maybe I need to broaden my what I'm teaching and what I'm coaching because it is applicable to creatives, right? Not just designers. But so it's an interesting experiment that we're in right now. But I didn't want to post anything because I'm like, they're all going to leave. They're all going to leave. And so this was an interesting ego, thing to like think about, like, what am I doing this for? And really the only reason I posted that video is because I think, I love to dance. I want to figure out how to include that feel good vibe into what I teach people. And so that's why I did it. It's the only reason. And so I started posting some new things going, here we go. They're all leaving. They're all going. Now, so far, it's been fine. But, the other thing is you can't worry about that. And I think that's the other thing is we do get kind of caught up in the ego. And to me, it's quality over quantity. But to your point, Maria, I will say there's a power in social media when you're seen by a lot of people. It does increase your reach, which can increase your visibility with your ideal client. So that is one side effect of having something that goes out to a ton of people, 250,000 people. There's probably some interior designers in that mix, and they're probably from all over the world, which is all good for me because I have a business that can be that can teach anyone anywhere. So that's the other thing is you kind of have to understand again what your perfect future client is and why that's important. And sometimes you just need to have fun. And it shows, right? People react to that.
And it is true. If you're having fun in your video, the response is going to be better anyway. And whenever you are creating video, if you can make it to where someone might want to leave you a comment for some reason, it doesn't matter if it's because of the typo. It doesn't matter if it's because the outfit you're wearing or what's in your background is nice, but you just want to come up with some way where people feel like they can talk to you, because otherwise there's no reason for anyone to talk to you. There's no reason for anyone to leave a comment. And you just have to start kind of looking at it like, how can I use it in a way where I start conversations and I get feedback, and maybe those things will help me in the future. And so one of the things we talked about as well is that the media is on TikTok. Media is picking up a lot of their content off of TikTok. So if you do have a polarizing dynamic or negative, but if you've got some kind of viewpoint that has some kind of stance and you can teach or tell people about it, having that voice over on TikTok can help you to get a little bit more views and some visibility and possibly even some press placements. Mirjam, what was your comment on the TikTok thing?
I just want to put it in perspective in terms of what kinds of media coverage you can expect from being on TikTok. And I think what happens is, if you think about the media, they're always looking for trends, right? So when new things come up, like TikTok, new platform, so the media are like the media that we care about, right? The media that talk to our audience, which for us is either interior designers or people who are looking for an interior designer. So they're not going to be covering the subject matter, but they're going to be covering the trend of you being over there, making it big, so I think it's a different kind of media coverage. So I wouldn't want to encourage people to go over to TikTok and think they can get covered in Elle Decor, 2 months later. So I just want to make that differentiation.
Well, I actually have a question on another topic, because you had talked about negative reviews, and way back in episode 7, we had talked about how to handle negative reviews on an online platform. Mm-hmm. I want to know, in the social media realm, how do you all handle negative reviews?
Oh, it wounds, man. It wounds deep to the soul. And I have to say, for me, I've just experienced this because a video got seen by so many people. I don't normally have this. So this was new to me. And it was the first couple, I was like, wow, ouch, like that really hurt. And I think as you move through it, I think that you start to realize that this really has nothing to do with you, because you see a lot of these comments that actually don't represent maybe where you were coming from when you made the video, or what you were even thinking in your own mind. And so you realize that these comments are a reflection of how someone else feels in a different part of their life. And there's 2 ways to handle those, and it depends on your personality. Some people want to just take it on head on and want to tell those people exactly how they feel about whatever they've said. And then there's people like me who are like, I'm not even going to dignify that with a response, because when I respond to what you've said to me, I'm giving you a power that I'm just not willing to give you. And so I think that depends on your personality. And that's just my own feeling about it. I just never respond or even touch those comments.
So I'm gonna just say quickly that social media is going to have a group of negative people on it to increase its engagement. In fact, if you go in, there are people who are high level performing content creators on TikTok. And if they go in and delete all of the negative bots, it's just humans having normal human conversations. The ones that are super strange, the ones that are really weird and aggressively mean, you can usually look at their profile. There's not going to be a real picture of a real human being. They will have never have posted anything. They will have also never actually liked any other videos. And you just sort of know that you're dealing with an actual instrument to create engagement in social media. And so if once you understand that that exists, and you don't just hear it from one person, but you hear it from the people that you admire and that you see over and over again, when they come to the surface and talk in real time about what it is that is really happening to them, and that they are experiencing these bots, and those people are not poor intended or doing anything wrong, then you will start to see that sometimes if a negative thing shows up, just let other people defend you, get that extra engagement, watch your video go viral, because those negative comments sometimes are helpful for causing you to become more important. And then the ones that are really strange, you can just block them and you just keep moving forward, but you can't let them stick to you. Otherwise, all you're going to do is stop yourself. And you don't want those people to be the excuse for why you stop.
Yeah, and I think in reality that could be one of the reasons that a lot of designers don't want to be on video, because if it blows up, it's just going to open themselves up to a lot of negativity that they're just not really interested in handling. But I think the reality of the situation is that it's going to be rare that you're going to go viral. So let's just be real. Like, everyone's kind of chasing this viral video. Let's be real. It's probably not going viral anytime soon. And, so just, I think the bigger thing is people want to do business with people. That is never going to change, especially if you're in a luxury one-to-one small business. They want to see you. And as much as you don't want to show your face, I would rather do business with a person that I know has, a family that they send them to baseball games, or that has, likes to travel the country with their dog and their significant other, or whatever it is. I want to know those stories. These are the things that we want. And if we deal with affluent customers, which many of us do, many of them have built a business and they admire people running and building businesses. So they want to see you. And then they want to help you. So I think it's in our best interest to continue to show the faces behind these design brands.
It's all such good information from you guys, both Pam and Maria. I have a very practical final question. And as you guys are talking, I know you both of you are putting a lot of focus in your businesses on marketing it, which is why you're so knowledgeable about all of this. But for me, we talked before the podcast, we talked about really the goal of this is to get everybody to do or try short format video, right? I have yet to do that, honestly. And I'm not an interior designer. I'm a PR person, but I think the issue is the same. I'm like, how much time does this take? It's like between having to follow what's happening on TikTok, listening to podcasts like this, so what's happening, then coming up with the idea, then recording it. So if you guys are perfectly honest, okay, what's the commitment we're looking at to really do this? Not just once a month or so, but if you really want to get into a cadence that makes sense, what would it take?
Oh boy, I'm constantly. This wasn't a loaded question to end, was it? Or what? Okay, how much time do we have? But so here's the thing. My videos that do the best is when I do 2 takes and I'm kind of going on something that hits me in the gut. Like if I'll see something that I recorded a reel this morning on, I overdubbed it, meaning that it was an audio that was provided and I'm just sort of lip syncing to it. 8 seconds long. So of course I already know it's in the sweet spot. It's funny. So it hits that one. And now I'm going to relate it back to my niche. I think I recorded that 3 times because I had to get the timing right. So a minute. So here's the thing. In the beginning,
you had to find the audio, right? You had to come up with the idea.
We're on social media. Let's be real. Everyone is scrolling social media. So while you're scrolling social media, if you see something that's like, oh, that's funny, or oh, that's interesting, just save it.
Good point.
I don't know how you do that in TikTok, but I know you can save it in Instagram. I'm assuming it's very similar. And so what you do is you just compile these saved things, like you save the audio, you save the video, right? And then so I work backwards. A lot of people will be like, what do you want to say? And then you find this video. To me, this is how I work. And this is my own creative process, is I go by my gut and what kind of strikes me. So if it's funny, I'll save it. And then I'll go, how can I relate this back to my niche? Like, how can I make this relevant? How can I take this audio and relate it back? And so that's how I do it. And I will say in the beginning, it took hours and hours. So I apologize for those who don't want to put hours into it, but you don't have to. You have to let go of the perfectionist gene. That is number one. And so what used to take me hours, I'm just like, oh, no, we're getting this puppy up. Like, we're getting it up today. Like, we're getting it up. So record and go, follow your gut. I write most of my captions on the fly. And that's where I do better, because that seems to be that's what works for me. And I suspect when you're in a meeting with a client and they ask you a question, you're not thinking about the answer, you're just answering it, right? And so I think we need to rely on our own guts, and, that we are so, should I say, overqualified? We're so qualified. We are so qualified to do what we do. And all you're trying to do is just explain what you do to people. Not like this is our process and blah, 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 but explain the real interactions that you have during the day.
And I totally get what you're trying to say. Keep it simple, right?
Yes.
But you're avoiding my question.
All right. So what
How
am
much time does it take?
Oh, so like I said, I write a lot of content. I write newsletters and posts, and I do a lot. I guess I'm a writer at heart, maybe. I'd say an hour a day to do the post. By the time I get my, butt in gear, like I recorded the reel this morning. I'm thinking about what I'm going to say. I haven't posted it because I've decided not to post it today because I had another podcast come out. So, yes, I would say about an hour. And then of course I'm looking at reels and short videos every day, because I also want to either buffer, be entertained, wind down from the day. So, I mean, we're already there anyway. So why not just save the things that kind of pique our own interest, because that's probably going to pique our audience's interest. So yes, an hour a day to specifically answer your question. You're almost like are you a designer? Because you seem a little detail oriented. And then Jason too, he's laughing a little too hard.
That applies to other professions too. Yeah,
Mr. Jason, who wrote a 9,000-page book, is already laughing down there too. So, yeah.
Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again next week on Designer Discussions.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Designer Discussions. What was your takeaway? Care to share your thoughts and tag Jason, Maria, and Mirjam on social media? You can find them on all platforms at designerdiscussions.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review or comment for this episode from wherever you are listening.